knows. Something knows.
And my wife visited there and brought it back.
How was Woodstock?
I wish I'd been to the field, but I wasn't old enough.
Me neither.
My music.
Are y'all expecting to go across the field? Is that the intention here? Is y'all expecting to go across this field?
You the man.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Whatever it includes, give us guns and following you.
All right. Well, how many of your cars are over here? Okay.
But I have a wife
Is that
to come back and
bad?
get it for me.
No, not necessarily. I'll just go ahead and throw this tip out to you. I mean, if you want to go first class, if you've got a less than willing, enthusiastic spouse here, the best thing to do would be to drive over and meet us when we get finished, or walk back and meet us. That way you don't have to do this field twice. You see what I mean? It's coming back through. Now that's Cadillac service.
Chris very enthusiastic.
What are you talking about? Oh, me stay here?
No, I said that means you're going to stay over there.
What happened in long-term relationship? They work it
Yeah,
out.
that's the deal.
All right, who won?
Oh, no. He's going to drive over there and pick me up.
She's driving over.
No,
But I'm not coming back.
I'm going to end up walking back. She's going to stay there and then I'll go pick her up.
Oh.
I get double the steps.
Well, that's one way to do it too. That is the third option. You could stay there while your spouse walks back.
I like that one. That's what I'm doing.
There you go, first class.
She's no. She's gonna stay. Once we're done, we're gonna stay there, and you're gonna come back and pick us up.
Yeah, I'll do that.
See, he's doing that too, honey. You're not the only kiss ass. You're gonna walk over there. Yeah. I'll walk back.
You just can't. Okay, so this wasn't, none of this was planned. Okay, Stuff Rider's not supposed to be here today. I mean, this is like Wednesday afternoon. This is a typical 3:30, and you're getting to see pure bedlam. I have no notes. My objective is to go across this field, and I got three couples out here arguing over who's going to drive the car. This is what you want to be, a park ranger. There you go. All right. We got it all worked out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My friend Jimmy, he's coming up right now. All right, let's gather around this handy dandy map.
Okay.
I'll stand above it and y'all get around it. This is one of the best ideas my boss ever had, was putting these, I think he calls it tactile maps out here.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's a great idea. Who are they for, sir?
People with visual disabilities or blindness.
That's right. And what do they provide?
They provide a rough idea of the topography and geography of the immediate point of other people's visions.
That's right. So it provides it on multiple levels. Okay, and you couldn't have planned that walk up with any better moment than that.
I know.
All right, so what we got here, ladies and gentlemen, is a layout of the battlefield of Gettysburg. It's in a rectangle, as you can well see. Town of Gettysburg is right here, and I would venture to guess that we are at the star. That's generally how I figured out. It's generally the star marks where the star is at. Okay, all right. So, we're at number 11. Quick rehash. As soon as the bus gets out of the way. Never fails, never.
I just wanted to circle if we can get away from it.
Look at all the roads that go in different directions. You got like spokes on a wagon wheel. You know, look at them shooting off in all different directions. This is going to be the catalyst to get all these men in here, especially on July 1st, July 2nd. They are feeding in tens of thousands of men and tens of miles of wagons into here. It's all because of the road network. They got multiple roads leading to a central location. Anyway, this is about July 3rd, and I have no notes, so and I wasn't planning on being taped, so here it goes nothing, all right? July 1st is out here towards stop number 10, or out beyond is where the Union and Confederate forces first meet. They fall back along the Chambersburg Pike. Union infantry comes up at stop 10 or at least number 10 on this map, at the last moment, beats back the Confederates. The Confederates regroup here. More Confederates come in at peace light. They attack. They're repulsed. More Confederates come in from number 4 over here. They attack. Number 4 attacks. Number 9 attacks. And number 10 attacks. And when you get simultaneous pressure in mid-afternoon of July 1st, then you get a Union line that's crumbling. The South may have less men overall, but they get more there on the first day than the North does. And they simply overwhelm them. They get finally attack together. So anyway, the Union Army falls back through the town of Gettysburg, and they rally at number 5, which is Cemetery Hill. From number 5, on the night of July 1st and the morning of July 2nd, they start to expand their lines. Basically, as different Union corps come up. So eventually the Union line is going to take the shape of a hook. That's right, fish hook.
I know,
Not
I got
Dr.
it,
Hook.
I've been here before.
Not Dr. Hook, but the fish hook. Okay. Woo! Dr. Hook. Now that's going back now.
Yeah,
Hey, what, you got the hook. All right.
That's some good shit. Happy stuff.
You cannot ever plan this. Number 7 is going to be Little Round Top, and that's the Union left flank, and that is the eye of the fish hook. The shank of the fish hook runs along through number 6, back through number 5, and it anchors basically at number 2 over here. See the fish hook? On the afternoon of July 2nd, Confederate forces attacked number 12, which is the Peach Orchard. This is where Sickles' line is. Once again, this isn't the point of this talk. I know, you want to talk about Sickles. But this is where he's driven back to. And at the end of the day, though, the Union line holds intact. So what I'm telling you is that on July 1st and July 2nd, out of 7 Union Corps, Robert E. Lee destroys 3 of them. On July 2nd, he does not gain a signal victory, but he does drive back Union Corps. He seizes the Peach Orchard. He fails in getting Little Round Top, and he fails in getting Colts Hill. But basically, ladies and gentlemen, on the 3rd day, it's boiled down to whether Robert E. Lee can get away from it. Now, he wins the 1st day, clearly. The Confederates win the 1st day. I would say the 2nd day is a draw, but a draw is not good for the South. Basically a victory for the Union. And on the 3rd day, I guess the question you have to ask yourself is, could you walk away from it? And if you're that man, flash on up there, let's give him a perspective right here. And if you're that man up there right now, you're not walking away from it. Okay, it's not really a matter of if, it's a matter of only where. And that's basically what we're going to do today, is we're going to do where. We're going to walk across the field. I have 42 minutes in order to accomplish that, which is about near nigh impossible to get all of you across this field. And
We're not going.
you're not going. We'll meet me on the other side.
It's on the other side.
How about a little Aerosmith? Meet you on the other side. Now all that needs the rags, right?
Yeah.
Giddy up, dude.
Giddy up. There it is. No show without snow.
Matt, how much do you think Wright's, the fact that the Georgians made it across on day 2 and broke the line, how much do you think that came into play with Lee's decision to do the July 3rd attack?
Okay, let me repeat what he just said and put it back. Some of the folks don't know, aren't on that level. On the previous day, basically the Confederate attack rolled up the Armistead Road from the south to the north. And eventually when it got here, and I'm going back to the previous day, a lone Confederate brigade, what would turn out to be the last Confederate brigade rolling from south to north, Ambrose Wright's Georgia Brigade, goes forward across this field and punches it in over there at the copse of trees, which is where we're headed today. If you see kind of that white car with that's at a standstill with the sunlight reflecting off of it, that's the copse of trees to the left of it. I'd say it's about 0.8 of a mile from right here. All right, so there are some people that think that, and it's plausible that Robert E. Lee thought, well, if one brigade can get there, what would happen if I lined up, 12,000 men and tried it? And that's exactly what he aims to do. He's got 9 brigades, 11 if you count, Wilcox and Lang. But he's got, Longstreet, he hands over 11 brigades to James Longstreet. And he tells him to go take that ridge. Now, I could spend the rest of the time, I could be taught real easily about not going across this field.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's a trick.
It's a trick. I just don't know if it reaches the barometer. What's the temperature anyway? It's only 90, isn't
It
it?
was like 93.
93.
Okay, so what I think happened in short is, and I could do the whole program on this, but in essence, Robert E. Lee originally planned on attacking again on the 3rd day as he did on the 2nd day. So what I described to you from the 2nd day with Longstreet launching an attack with the Confederate right against the Union left, Lee looked to repeat that. On the morning of July 3rd, there was a conference in the Peach Orchard, and there were some heavy hitters there. A.P. Hill, James Longstreet, members of Lee's staff, Robert E. Lee in person would be there. The exact moment of the meeting is up to, debate or something, but maybe 6 or 7, 8 in the morning. Surely it wasn't that late, is 8, but possible. Anyway, ironically, just as an aside, Henry Heath was there. The guy that couldn't command on July 3rd is noted as being at that conference. I've never understood that, So, but anyway, neither here nor there. If you look in Lee's report, it says that the general plan was unchanged. The general plan was unchanged. The general plan was unchanged. And if you go to Occam's razor, and you look up, sometimes the simplest answer is the correct one. Instead of over convoluting it right there. So in that report, in Robert E. Lee's report, he states that General Longstreet stated that his right flank had been embarrassed by the mountains on his right.
Big Round Top.
Big Round Top and Little Round Top, yes ma'am. And so he argued with Lee that the attack could not be made. So what apparently happened, and there has to be a lot of some looking between, because people don't write about what was supposed to happen. People write about what did happen. That's the problem when you get into this level right here. This is what was supposed to happen, not what did happen, right? So apparently, Pickett is, Robert E. Lee's going to attack, and Pickett's division is fresh. And so the attack is basically shifted from here, ladies and gentlemen, to here. In other words, it's shifted from position 12 on here to position 11 on this map. Now these troops that augment Pickett's division, and they would hate that word, I apologize, that are in the attack with Pickett's division, do not augment them right here, were originally supposed to be support troops. In other words, they were to attack after Longstreet became engaged, but now they're in the front line assault. And all of this is coming together very fast. If I gave you a legal pad and told you to sit down and design me a frontal assault involving 9 different brigades coordinated to end up all in one line, basically, or at least 6 brigades in one line when they reach the opposite end, how would you do that? Oh, and by the way, you don't get to practice. So this is not something that is that easy to do. But apparently Lee shifts down. Now what I don't know is Pickett's division, where it goes in historically, which I'll show you in just a minute, at the same spot that Lee originally wanted them to attack with Longstreet. I don't know that. Or was Pickett's division brought up after the course to deploy with Hill's men? I don't know. The choice of the troops is also interesting, and I don't have time to go into all this, but 60, just a rough estimate, 60% of the attack force is not even from the tactical commander's units. 60% is from another corps, not James Longstreet, and Longstreet is in tactical command. Now, AP Hill and Longstreet may or may not have been getting along. Just like a couple that's been together a while and maybe they can't figure out who's going to drive the car back and they need to be told or clarified about how that's going to happen over here, all right? Get that straightened out. Beyond a doubt, there seems to be a lack of communication between Hill and Longstreet. The men that are chosen to augment, there's that word again, to augment Pickett's division are not the freshest troops. They could have cherry-picked different brigades, fresher brigades. Posey's Mississippians come to mind when I say that, you know, relatively unengaged brigades. Mahone's brigade might be another good one to put in. Not somebody like Davis's Mississippian and North Carolinians who had, you know, suffered hundreds, even just, you know, suffered grievously in the railroad cut. Prisoners and killed and wounded, you know, why are they, and they're holding up the left flank. There seems to be a lot of lack of communication here.
Was there more experience on those?
Well, let's start at the top. Out of 3 corps commanders, Longstreet's the only one here at this battle that's ever commanded at that level. So if you want unit cohesion, who do you have to trust? The irony or the rub for Lee is out of the 3 corps commanders, Longstreet out of all 3 of them is the one commander that is least favorable in doing it, conducting the attack. And so you've got that in the backdrop. I don't think I'm going out on a limb and saying that Longstreet's, you know, didn't want to do it. I mean, that's what he said. I take him at his word, you know, if you, whatever. I can only do so much, you know. If he said it, I have to believe him at some point because he says it consistently. But anyway, Robert E. Lee is looming in the background. Where is Lee? And what is he thinking during this time period, you know? There is tension going on between these 2 men. They are not communicating well, either Hill, Longstreet, or Longstreet and Lee. You know, I can give you multiple accounts where these generals are seen together. I can give you multiple accounts before the attack where they are seen apart, but I can never place them for you. In other words, Confederate veterans just recall seeing them. They don't tell me that, you know, Lee went from the right to the left at 9:30 in the morning. You know, it's up to conjecture when these sightings were made. So that's a, you know, a shortcoming we have. But Lee is not deviating. Now, over here on Culp's Hill, a messenger is sent by from Lee's headquarters. It arrives about 9 o'clock to General Ewell on the opposite side of the Confederate line. That's way over there in that furthest tree line over there by Culp's Hill. And that note instructs Richard Ewell that he should attack at 10 o'clock in support of General Longstreet. And he launches that assault. All right? Those Confederates go forward in a major attack and they do nothing but double the casualties. And yet there's nothing that is heard from over here. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, I do not have an answer for. What is going on over here? Beyond a doubt, I do not know the details, but beyond a doubt, Robert E. Lee would not have sent that message unless he expected an attack. That is plain. I mean, you would never do that unless you were in agreement with your subordinate. I mean, you just don't do that. That's 101. So, I have no answer. What is going on at this spot we're standing on right now? Any questions? How about the Homer Brewing Company? How much is a beer in Alaska anyway?
About $3 for a 16-ounce, or no, $5 for a 16-ounce craft brew.
Oh,
Not much different than here.
okay.
Might taste
You
a
learn
little
something
better.
every day, don't you?
Try 9 in California.
How much?
9.
9?
ridiculous.
Man,
Maybe 10.
I heard.
Depends on what city you're in.
I think we paid 12.
It's like 12 or 15 bucks.
What state?
California.
Yeah, they're all crazy.
Gas is $5.
Move to Alaska.
10 and a half sales tax. Yeah.
There's a lot of meat there.
The rent's too damn high. What we got? Any
New
questions?
York was bad.
Let's walk on out to the tree line and let's see what we can.
He never started the attack when Culp Hill started. Why wouldn't Lee go down to him and say, "Hey, get your butt in gear"?
Oh, well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think why didn't Lee go down there? Surely those people aren't all with us.
No, I think that's on the bus.
The gentleman's asking why didn't Lee go down there and get on Longstreet if he wanted an attack at 10 o'clock? Well, I don't know. I think it's I hate to say it, but I think it's actually probably a failing of Lee in his you know, nobody has a perfect character, and there are chinks in everybody. There are strengths and weaknesses. It's all about putting people in the right spot. And I think Robert E. Lee is everything that you've imagined him. You know, he's a consummate gentleman. He would share his last piece of meat with an orderly that came in. He'd be able to sit at the table. He's very he worries about other people's feelings. In this instance, I don't think Robert E. Lee is assertive enough with Longstreet. Whatever's happening over here is I don't know. It's they're at loggerheads, and it seems to me, I had a retired lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Army tell me that I'll water it down for y'all, that if you're going to goof off, then you goof off in front of the boss. Right? So they're here. So, you know, I can go around and I can make excuses and I can lay blame, but the ultimate buck stops with Lee. I have to assume the only thing that would hold this assault up was that Longstreet was not ready. How do you force a commander into an assault if he tells you he's not ready to go? So that's the only thing I could guess, that Longstreet was not prepared. And so the Confederates attack. Well, guess what happened? Historically speaking, at 9 o'clock in the afternoon, Pickett's division comes through this swell right through here and through, kind of hard to see, but on the other side of that, on this side of the Red Barn is low ground. And so they made their way through here, and the front two brigades of Pickett's division deploys on that ridge in front of you. The rear brigade, there was 3 brigades in the division. The rear brigade, I hadn't seen you in a while, the rear brigade is back here in the woods. I was interested, I was thinking about it as we were walking up here, that the rear brigade being Armistead's, that if the left flank of Armistead's came out in this field, or maybe they doubled it up inside the woods. Boy, that'd be real tempting, wouldn't it? To put all the men inside the woods. But, you know, regardless, they're up here, and the right of the Confederate attack is advanced. Now let's go back to something. I'm just hypothetical, it never happened. But you know, historically speaking, that the Confederates held the Peach Orchard. If you were going to attack the same way Longstreet did the next day, or excuse me, the day previously, from the Peach Orchard, would it not make sense to position your units there? Up in front, you could support troops to your right, or you could support troops to your left. But this is all just hypothesis, so take it for what it's worth. But it is a good deployment if you're going to be the left flank of an attack, to me, instead of a right flank of an attack. The problem with the attack now is that your secondary line, the other 60% of your troops, are, you know, quarter of a mile to a half a mile further back than your front line. All of this is going to have to be, you know, these little minuscule details are going to have to be, they miss them. They miss them. I've had 160 years to try to figure all this out. But that's the situation. A.P. Hill's men, Pettigrew and Trimble's division, 6 brigades. Over here in front, 2 brigades of Pickett. Right behind you in these woods, 1 brigade from the Confederates, Armistead. 1:07 p.m., the guns open. Ba-ba-boom, boom, ba-ba-boom, boom, ba-ba-boom, boom. Let the boys be boys. Okay, so All that cannon fire is concentrated on, thank you, ma'am, I appreciate it. It's concentrated on Cemetery Ridge. Look at it. You got the same site. This is what your grandparents bought you with their tax money. You get to come out here, you get to see the same thing. Now, you play baseball? You better with glasses like that. All right? You look across there, you can see cars, you can see people if you've got good enough eyes. Now, you think about hitting it with a 4.5-inch iron ball in circumference. And that's another thing right there, especially if the fuses aren't working. How you ever going to get the range? Anyway, the point is, what was supposed to happen? What was supposed to happen was the artillery was going to knock out the Union guns, and then the infantry would advance. What was supposed to happen is they had a dozen howitzers that they had put aside. Why did they put the howitzers aside? Because the cannon was so useless, it couldn't even throw a ball from here to Cemetery Ridge. In other words, they were going to literally have those guns go forward with the infantry out here. All right, so let's just make him, Drew Brees right here, let's just have him as the Confederate infantry. This is the whole thing right here, all right? So he's had years of practice. You know, if you followed him through the videos, he's grown up quite a bit. So anyway, the artillery, those howitzers were literally supposed to come out and protect the flanks. And in other words, they were going to dash out ahead of the main line, set up positions, and then fire. Long story short, once again, this is not a battle walk. I'm just saying all this stuff off the top of my head, but they couldn't find the guns when the infantry got ready to go forward. And basically, the rest of the Confederate guns shot up all their ammo. And basically, they didn't have the foresight to have the reserve trains here. Ammo trains up. And so you got a big problem. So everything I've been telling you comes to a head right here where we're standing. Longstreet is leaning against this fence somewhere. Now, Arthur Fremantle, the British observer, said he took a nap. I'm just telling you what he said. That's the point. That E.P. Alexander, Edward Porter Alexander, who is in command of the Confederate cannons all the way from here to the Peach Orchard, he's getting worried. That's when he sends the note saying, hey, we're not having much effect. You might want to think about, if you're, I'm shooting up all my ammo. Hello, who's on the other end of the line here? Now, to give you a mindset into what Longstreet, where he's at right now, is he has delegated to a lieutenant colonel of artillery the decision to advise General Pickett when the moment has come to advance. A lieutenant colonel of artillery. Now, Alexander is a smart man. He's no dummy by any stretch of the imagination. But he don't want that responsibility. You know what? Who would? You know, he argues with him, and no, Longstreet put it right back on him. Pickett needs that final okay, though, and that's when he rides to this point, and he presents the message. Shortly thereafter, a second message, I don't know exactly the time frame, but a second message will arrive, probably back to back, saying enemy guns. Alexander will write, enemy guns withdrawing from cemetery. He thought the copse of trees was a cemetery. For God's sake, come forward quicker. My guns can't support you. Your obedient servant, respectively, etc., your long lost never mind. That's when Pickett takes it to Longstreet and asks him, General, shall I advance? He can't do it. He can't unwrap it, I think Pickett walks. Now I don't know this either. How many minutes elapsed? Maybe not long, maybe long, I don't know. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know. Some time rolled off though. Pickett's just standing there. Apparently he comes back and he repeats the question. Longstreet turns away and he just nods. And to me, it's just pure speculative opinion. He's just out of options. You know, I could throw up a million excuses to my mom not to mow that yard. You know, eventually you got to go out there and do it. And it's not pleasant. And he don't want to do it. And I think that's just it. I don't think it's a deep, dark secret. He don't want to do it. He doesn't think it'll be successful, and he thinks it's a bad idea. That's all true. But here we get down to the fundamental dilemma of a soldier. How much are you there to think, and how much are you there to act? So the infantry are coming forward. Any questions?
Yeah, you're saying the cannon line was on from here to like the peach orchards?
Yeah, in spurts. I mean, but
Yeah.
it basically follow this ridge. Some people have some of the guns up there along Emmitsburg Road. We don't
That's
depict
further
that today in the park because we would have cannons pointed backwards on what is that?
Some kind of a map.
Lantern fly.
Oh, down on your leg now.
I hope it came out in 4K color for you right there. I know it. What kind of working conditions is this?
I'm from New York. I haven't seen them.
Well, you won't want to see them. The guns are along Emmitsburg Road. If we interpreted it, we'd have cannons facing the opposite way from the Union monuments. It would never. You either go one or the other. You know.
Sure.
For
How,
the
how many cannons did they have firing?
147. Whenever in doubt, it's 147. In fact, I saw Scott Hartwig this morning. I didn't remind him it was 147, but he knows. It's 147. I read a book the other day. It said 152. I threw it instantly. Instantly, I threw it in the garbage.
Is he back again? There you go.
Yeah, that was a spotted lantern. Yeah. Here we could have a nature talk here. Maybe as we cross the field, I'll find a big anaconda. Ranger Matt's got him now.
About how long, like where would the line started?
Okay, let's do this, y'all. The gentleman's asking the length of the line. Sir, let's clear this wood line and ask that question again when we can look back, okay? Let's get going across this field.
For the record, the second question that Pickett asked Longstreet wasn't, should I go? It's,
Sorry, you want me to do what? Look at. Woo! I bet I could set up a beer stand out here.
You know, you're talking about, you're wondering why some of the decisions were made. They've been fighting for a couple of days by now, and they've all had a lack of sleep. The sleep deprivation and battle fatigue had a little bit to do with some of that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do, but I don't find anything. And you know, people more often than not the fatigue, but the people more often than not point to Lee's weakened condition, which he was unhealthy. He had a heart attack in the winter at some point, and physically he wasn't 100%. But I think about that, and it's true. You know, I'm not going to try to sell you on Pickett's charge. I mean, I think the results speak for itself. What I'm trying to show you is what his expectations were versus what actually happened out here on the field, and it basically all fell apart in about 45 minutes coming across this field. Yeah, so what about Pickett's charge is not Robert E. Lee? Is the rhetorical question I would ask. Is this not what he's known for? Is this not what he does? I don't care if he's sick or not. Malvern Hill, Pickett's charge, second day of the wilderness. I don't know.
didn't lost you.
Whatever. Ream Station. I mean, I can just keep going. He is an offensive-minded general, and so I mean, he's going. And I think he's a bit overconfident. I think he would agree with that.
Was he a drunk?
Oh my God, was Robert E. Lee a drunk? Oh my God, who said that? Who said that on this hot day? Who dare tempt you, Lord? I would tell you what, spirits have never touched him, and I don't mean even ghostly spirits, nor man-made spirits. Robert E. Lee was president of a college after the war, and there's a delightful little book about written by students, little short stories about their time when Lee was the president. And one of them said that he was in a bar in downtown Lexington, and he came out, and he was about midday, and he was feeling pretty good. The sun was shining bright. He said all of a sudden a dark shadow overcame him, and he looked up, and it was Robert E. Lee himself on Traveler, and he said he sure made himself scarce in a hurry, hoping that the general didn't see him. He done made it on through. Now, it was Lee's habit in the day, if he had a problem or he had an issue to deal with this, then he would place your name in the central hallway to come by his office and see him. And that boy thought he'd gotten away with it. You know, a couple of weeks later, he saw his name on the board, and so he went by with hat in hand to see President Lee. And you know, Lee sat him down. As an aside, if he had a student, you know, that had bad grades, which most of them were, you know, I mean, they came to his office, not the school. He would sit them down and he would say, I'm sorry you haven't been feeling well. This one student said, well, General, I've been feeling well. Well, I'm sorry to hear your family has not been feeling well. Well, there's nothing wrong with my family. Oh, well, I thought there must be a reason for the discrepancy in these grades. You know, just formality, just melt you like butter, you know, or whatever. But, yeah. So, he calls that kid in there and he seats him down in the chair and he goes, generally I urge something like, generally I urge young people to abstain from spirits. If you grow, basically he told him, if you grow a tolerance for it too early in life, they will not work properly when you get older and you actually need them. That was his advice to him right there. And he said he slid on out, you know, from there. Lee might drink a glass of wine or something, but no, he's no fuddy-duddy. No, Lee's no fun. No, you don't want to go see the old man. No. I don't know where you've been, but I know where you've been. So anyway, I thank you for that life story out here in 93 degree heat. I'm so glad we got to share that one together. But you ain't seeing Robert E. Lee at no liquor store.
All right.
Or unbonded whiskey, for that matter. Now look, who was the gentleman that asked me about the alignment? You, sir. If you look back to your left rear right over here, and you see that modern building, that brown building, light brown building, cream color, whatever you call it, sandy, that's the left flank of Pickett's Charge. If you look over here to your opposite direction, and you go all the way down the Emmitsburg Road, you're basically looking at the right flank of Pickett's Charge. I mean, probably past that white house you see out there. Probably almost to the Spangler Farm. Now what I need you to know is, though, that front that you're seeing right here is basically going to become the width of that barn to basically the KFC or Pickett's Buffet over there. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not going to say the joke. Oh, never mind. All right, so it shrinks down. Why is it shrinking? The reason it's shrinking, ladies and gentlemen, is twofold. All right? For one thing, the Confederates, get on the other side of him. Give him a little space on the other side right here. Stuffy, you're going to have to get the right angle for this. All right? They start out like this. They're not connected. The orders are originally to guide right, meaning that that brigade over there, scoot over, everybody's going to guide right. Right? We're going to guide right. But at the last, where'd you go? At the last minute, the orders come in to guide center. And I mean at the last moment. I'm talking about when they stepped off coming. In fact, they sent 3 orders to Kemper over here telling him to dress left. And Kemper's like, the last one got there, and he's like, I know. He threw his hands up before he even got there. He could even repeat the orders. That important. God left. So let's make him the brigade center of advance. That fence over there sure is in the right position. And if I was going to guide a whole line of 6 brigades forward, that fence that runs at right angles all the way back from Seminary Ridge, basically to Cemetery Ridge, that sure is conveniently posted, isn't it? I'm not saying I have any documentation on it, but if I had it, I don't know why I wouldn't use it. And so Fry's brigade, who is from A.P. Hill's Corps, is going to be, beyond a doubt, the center brigade of direction. So let's put Fry, this little man, right here along that fence. And I'll be the other side, and you'll be the other side. You be the Virginians, and I'll be the rest. And always remember, every Virginia goose thinks it's a swan. Okay, so if we guide, that's John Adams. All right. True though. We're gonna guide center. You start walking forward a little bit, pretty slowly. All right, let's start headed toward him. Now see what we're doing. Now you see why that front's shrinking? Now we're guiding center as we go forward, right? And so that's the reason that the front's gonna shrink. Of course they're taking casualties too. I mean, that has a lot to do with it. What else we got?
Approximately how far in before the Federal started firing?
Well, artillery-wise, they'd probably be from the very beginning as soon as they could open on Pickett. So when Pickett's division goes through here, when they come over the crest of the hill, especially Garnett's brigade, when they come over the crest of the hill, where you see the New York Auxiliary Monument and the Pennsylvania Memorial, that's McGilvery's artillery line. We often overlook that, but that's a huge concentration of Union guns over there. What's even more important at the moment that the Confederate infantry are attacking, if you go back to my anniversary walk, it was more about July 2nd to July 3rd. But you will know from that walk that the Union Artillery Reserve had the theory that to reserve your ammunition. The infantry, the 2nd Corps infantry, specifically Winfield Scott Hancock, you can watch that walk too, had the theory that the guns banging away was good for morale. And so what you have here, when the infantry, Confederate infantry goes forward, is plenty of ammo over here and barely enough over here. So it really depends on where you're asking me. The short range rounds, they would be in plentiful supply, such as canister. But the other rounds would be in short supply. Plus, I don't care if the Confederate bombardment was ineffective, even a blind squirrel gets a nut every once in a while. And so, you know, it's caused some damage now. All day, free of charge. It hits 95, the jokes really get good. I'm gonna tell you what, now look at them pushing me on up from behind. You look at that. Well, I won't, by God, we're not doing it.
Get out of here.
What about Round Top?
You whoop every one of them. Yeah, there's a section of guns that are fired from Rittenhouse. Woo, Rittenhouse. Huh? Who else know Rittenhouse? Everybody's back home, they like, I know who Rittenhouse is. But yes, 2 guns firing down. They're supposedly quite effective. Those Rebs, you know, those Rebs talk about getting hit, but they don't know where they're getting hit from. There's all kind of stuff going on, you know. Let's step on up. Let's go on down this swell. Let's give them some room down. Look at where we ended up. If we were Garnett's brigade, and I told you if the Confederates come over this ridge and we went straight ahead, we'd end up where the Vermont men are, where the column is, and where the Pennsylvania monument is. Well, they don't do that. They're dressing center. So Garnett is going to bend like this trail is going. They're going to oblique. So everybody turns 45 degrees and they're basically making their way up that orchard. You can see it better from here. But that's the way we're going to go. That's why we're changing direction. But we are aligning, we're bringing our lines in, we're making them tighter. Now, yeah, this is where you get shell fire. Now over here, on your left, Confederate left, You got Cemetery Hill. Now them boys got some big guns up there too. Now they can't fire though at us from Cemetery Hill because they don't want to fire over their friends' heads. So what those guns are doing are concentrating upon Pettigrew's men and Trimble's men because they can shoot straight ahead, so to speak. I think there's some Ohioans out there, but that's okay. Hey, I'm not the one doing the shooting. Don't get mad at me. I'm the one pulling trigger. So, you know, that firepower, or that concentration of fire is where it's coming from on Pettigrew and Trimble. And of course, some batteries around the Bryan house. What is that? Woodruff, I believe, is up there. But once again, those guns on Cemetery Ridge are low. I don't know. We moving though. You better believe we're Confederate infantry. We ain't doing this dog trot we're doing now. We're gonna be making it. We're not dawdling. You better have your shoes tied. Yeah, this is the rub right here. Woo! Yeah. We're gonna stop on up here. I thank y'all for staying up with us. They get tired. We ain't gonna get any questions this next shot. Watch. You're getting tired. Hearing back there, you don't hear nothing anymore. You're breathing now. That's when that spouse starts talking to them.
How far did the Confederate take it up?
You mean to the Union?
Yeah.
Well, we're going there. You'll see it firsthand. So basically, you know, we're gonna go up this slope and over the top. How's that group pushing me? Where'd they go? Oh, there they are. Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Y'all watch these gopher holes now. Whew. I tell you what, the amazing stuff rider, I mean, he comes through every time, ladies and gentlemen. Look at the man out here, 93-degree heat. He looks like he could be on a safari right now. That's how much he wants to get this tape. Of Matt sweating in the sun with a cold Coca-Cola at his hand. All right, as we trudge forward into his, the great life of a park ranger on World Park Ranger Day, nonetheless. And you get to come out here and see what a glorious affair it is. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, they've moved the programs inside.
Is that right?
Yeah. What kind of message does it send when you move inside? I don't know. Whew. We're going to win it this time, though. Now watch the hole there. I hate to lose the cameraman to a broke ankle.
I remember you had an ancestor that was in Pickett's charge.
Yeah, my ancestor was over here to the left, though. He wasn't in one of those glorified Virginia units. As far as I can tell, he was cannon fodder. I had a guy come in years ago and said that he had that he had found Thomas W. Hill's grave down in Maryland. Said it was at a church, but I've never been able to find that. Boy, I'd like to find that, you know, if possible. But I imagine the truth is he's in Hollywood Cemetery. He,
11th Mississippi.
11th Mississippi, you got a good memory. Yeah. He, Company H, Chickasaw Guard. He was the second one to die out of 3. And the third one is why I'm here. He survived. Funny how that works out here. Let's go grab the shade over here.
Yeah, I like the wood.
Oh, you like the people? A lot of people don't like it.
Very distinct.
People call me Colonel Sanders. People ask me how my grandkids are doing.
Oh, this is nice here.
That's right. You better get her over there, but You better get them car keys.
Who's taking the fence apart? Who's taking the fence apart?
Well, I don't know who's taking the fence, but it's not your friendly government worker. I can tell you that. Friendly government worker wants a shower. I hope you enjoy it, folks. There's nothing like it. I got through. I had a gentleman ask me earlier today. Didn't ask me, but he wrote the park, asking why General Lee was such a poor general, basically. And of course, they gave it to me. And I wrote him back that the question was too broad and the answers too numerous to even try to answer that in an email. But you know, point is, I mean, how cool is that? I mean, that's what they gave me to do, is write a letter about that. You know, so 93-degree heat. It's still fun. It's got to be fun.
Oh yeah.
You better love it. I mean, this is what you're signing up for.
Better than being the soldiers at that time.
Yeah.
And you know, another thing, walking up here, it's really easy to say, well, they can't see you, so they can't hit you. But those guys can.
Let's do a couple of things here because you bring up a good point, sir. And I didn't pause in the swell because I didn't want to, you know.
Pass on.
I want to get y'all some sucker around here, if not myself. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed when you came up over the crest. That's the same view as the Confederate soldiers, specifically Garnett's brigade, are going to have as they top the ridge right here. Now, they did briefly pause in that swell that we just walked through, which is behind you. The reason they did that is because they're obliquing. Once again, if they were moving this way, then they moved this way. I think that's what the cyclorama painting is sort of trying to show if you look at the multiple lines coming through that. When you oblique, not everybody is turning at once. So you would have, like, it's staggered. It's hard for me to describe with two hands. I'm better off drawing it. But I didn't expect to get filmed out here either. So when they oblique, they also pause in the swell because of what? Look back behind you. I told you that fence, if you look over there, you see the red tractor and the hay baler. You see that fence that runs all the way back toward Seminary Ridge. There's Archer's brigade. They paused here, ladies and gentlemen, because Pickett's division started first. That's where Archer's coming from. That's where Garnett is starting from, and it's a lot shorter. So I think they paused in the swell to allow Archer, or Fry, I should say, to catch up. And so somewhere in here is where the actual two wings between Pickett's division and Pettigrew's division is going to join together. I don't know if it happened simultaneously, but or if they ever got aligned. It is possible that Pickett's division is up there shortly before, you know, Fry and Marshall, but it's almost simultaneous. What happens to the rest of the 6th Brigade, or the rest of the 2 brigades from Pettigrew's divisions, they basically never make it. Brockenbrough's brigade goes to pieces, and when the Mississippians and North Carolinians get to Pickett's buffet up here, they're in a crossfire. So I don't think a lot of them passed, although some of them did. I don't think the majority passed over the Emmitsburg Road. So basically you're down to a 4-brigade front with 3 brigades coming up behind. Poor troops. Those troops should have never been in this assault. Not because of the quality of the soldier, but because, you know, it was too quick. They could not recover in 2 days from that, you know, too many losses, too many key people missing in the ranks to pull something off. You know, you got to have your hierarchy, your organization together to be efficient, and such is true in war. All right. So, any questions? You can stand here a while.
How far did Pickett actually make it?
How far did Pickett actually make it? So what I think happened, sir, is Pickett there is a sighting of him around the Cadore barn. I don't know if it happens exactly like my boys. I can't see my boys. My boys. So, but yes, he is around the general vicinity, and he is seen from all the way up to the peach orchard. So what I would say to you, and once again, it's like Lee and Longstreet. I can give you sightings of Pickett, but I just can't tell you when it was. But what I can tell you beyond a doubt is I don't have any sightings of him over here on the other side of the road.
Okay.
Yeah. And so some people, not everybody, accused him of cowardice. Well, two things. It may be, I don't know. Maybe he was hiding out. He did have one soldier officer accuse him, a doctor, I believe, accused him of being in the rear. Who knows? But if you look at where I know he was, and I don't know when he was there, but I know he was there, that's kind of the place to be if you're a division commander. Remember, your job is not to be up front of the line. Your job is the puppet master. And we clearly have evidence that Pickett is sending back for reinforcements, that he needs his right flank supported. He is trying to actively control the division as it goes forward. A couple things are going to go wrong for him, though. For one thing, I don't know if it goes wrong, but it's going to happen either way. In my opinion, once these men cross the Emmitsburg Road, his job's over. There's nothing more he can do at that point. He's lost control. You know, he can try to get reinforcements in here, but nobody's turning anybody at this point. It's up to the soldiers to get it done right there. And number two, I don't know what would have been accomplished if he did ride up there and gets himself shot. It would look good in the history books, I guess, and I'm certain that some Yankee would oblige him by shooting him. No problem. Who you getting over there to try to shoot someone? So, you know. But where he goes wrong, and I don't know what Pickett knew and when he knew it, but when it comes up, this is what the original intention was. What are you doing over there looking at a water bottle? Oh my God. Did you not ever watch Mr. Hand or Fast Times at Richmond High? What is wrong with you people? Are you people on dope? All right. You remember the original plan, ladies and gentlemen, was to guide right. Well, if he's guiding right here, and I'm Armistead, Kemper, Garnett, Armistead. Kemper, Garnett, Armistead. If you're guiding right, and he's guiding right, take a step over, and you guide on him, what does that open up? It opens up me. So I can come up, and you can extend that line down to the south. What happens when you guide center is you effectively block me. And that's what's going to happen going forward as we punch it on in. In other words, it's still a 2-brigade front with, you know, a couple of brigades, Armistead coming up behind in support, and you got Trimble's 2 brigades coming up over here. You're going to push me all the way across this field, and I'm not going to tell him about those gopher holes. They probably up here waiting on us to get rid of the tick. I know what they're doing. One of them high-dollar tours. They don't know I got kids, though. See, I'll send them out in front of me. I'm kidding. Any questions?
Is this as far as the South Dot?
No, we're going all the way. But, sir, this is the spot where the Union infantry opens. This is where, you think we've been taking casualties so far, this is where they go up dramatically. Right here. All the way to there. The bodies are getting thicker with every step. Let's walk on down here to the gap in the fence. Good reason. Get out with it. I'm coming. Smoke them if you got them. All right, look at where we're coming from. Look how far we came. That's probably about, you know, over a half a mile, 6/10 of a mile, something like that right here. The only reason I'm stopping here is that you just crossed through one of the pivotal moments of Pickett's charge. That fence. That fence had gaps in it, but most of the fence was apparently intact. And if you don't get the fence down, then you're going to have to climb over it. And your bullets are going up here. Why? Because your enemy is shooting up there. So if they shoot straight, they're going what? They're going higher. Well, yeah, well, you're going to catch all the bullets up here when you get up on that fence. So, a lot of them, especially as you go down the line, as the road tapers toward the Union position, you get more and more people, in my mind, that turn back at the Emmitsburg Road because you're that much closer with the Union line trying to, you know, get across. It's the way it is, but that stops the momentum. I don't know if it's a game changer or not, but they not only have to climb one fence, they have to climb two, and then they have to put together that, you know, that organ. Yeah, right? So there's 2 rank deep, and you don't know who made it and who didn't. So that's a problem. What we got? Let's walk on forward before I get in trouble here.
You're good. You're still under the 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Tell the story of Richard Garnett. How about it? I haven't told that one in a while. Here he comes again, trying to push me off. Think Foreman McGraw.
We can get him.
No, sir. We have never worried ourselves about the odds. There was always a higher duty to Virginia. There was never any doubt of what course of action we must take. Okay, that's all I can do for you, 95, all right? All right. Look at where we came from. Look at where we're closing. Somewhere in here, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know the exact spot. And one of the places, many places on the battlefield I wish was marked, if anybody knew, when they knew it, was where Richard Garnett fell. Richard Garnett was in that front Confederate brigade of Pickett's division coming across the field. And he had been kicked by a horse. I believe it was on that very morning. And he had, whatever it did, it kicked him in the leg and he couldn't walk. And that man wanted to get in this charge so bad he mounted up. He got a clearance from Pickett because they were supposed to go in dismounted. Now why was he wanting to go in so bad when man couldn't walk and almost certain death? About a year earlier at the Battle of Kernstown, a lesser known Confederate battle in the Shenandoah, Civil War battle in the Shenandoah, Stonewall Jackson's left flank caved in around a stone wall, and Garnett was held responsible by the boss. And subsequently, he lost the PR war. And this is the first chance that he had to redeem his honor. And by God, nobody was going to deny him that chance. He had over almost 25 years military experience, United States military experience, coming this battle.
Was his body never found?
His body was never found. We think his sword was recovered in a Baltimore pawn shop after the war. He probably, some people said he had a brand new uniform coat on. They may have stripped him, you know, for souvenirs. If you're pretty shiny out here, they'll loot you pretty good. So, I don't even want to talk about it. But yeah, he probably looks like any other Reb once they start burying bodies. This is what we get. All right, the Confederates start to close. They come toward this wall. Now look, I can talk till I'm blue in the face. This is your imagination can do it all. These last few steps, you got Union infantry along the stone wall, and they are sitting there, a wall of blue waiting on you right now. You can see the smoke. You can feel the balls. You can hear them slapping against your comrades. And it's all bedlam. Everything is so loud at this spot on Earth on July 3rd of 1863, you and I couldn't have this conversation. These Yankees are pouring every projectile that they have into the Confederate ranks. That much carnage. I just can't describe it. Let's go forward. was that? 45 minutes.
I know. Trying to brush up.
You gotta kill it, man. You can kill people.
Run across this thing?
I don't know. Whew. Nobody's shooting at me.
I know.
I don't know who that little girl is, but she deserves some ice cream tonight, you can guarantee. That poor thing, I done drug you across 8/10 of a mile, hadn't I, darling? Woo. I feel for you. I'd be sighing too if I was you. All right, this is the angle, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to pause here long, but this is where the Union position juts out in front of the rest of the line. In other words, the Union line is back there where that bus is. And it continues right here and goes southward. See where the monuments are? It goes southward from there. So what I'm telling you is there's no Union troops going this way. So if I'm Confederates and I just have a gigantic pile-on right here, if I'm Confederates, what am I looking for? If this is the end of the Union line at the angle right here, I'm looking probably to go literally through these rocks, which you're about to do too also. Please watch these roots as we come around.
Don't let them have it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You can tell somebody out there, He got a t-shirt on too, he's not hardcore. That's kind of like buying a water-cooled motorcycle. Can't do it. No. Don't get on a bike with no water cool. No, people don't want people laughing at you. What's he got, water cool? By God. All right.
Hold the line.
Now look, here's the Union line. Now look at it. Now look at where the rest of the Union line is, back there where those cars are. Ladies and gentlemen, when the Confederates get to right here, what's the problem for the Union troops? They're behind them. They're too close. They're behind them, and they're shooting down the line. Okay, so it's only a matter of time. I don't care what era you come from. No soldier from any era, of any war, of any period, ever liked getting shot at from behind. I don't care what it is. They don't like that. Oh, bring it up. I can't believe you didn't bring a recliner now. My God. Where'd that cooler go? Jim, where's the cooler at?
So we're on the Confederate wall.
We got a plug-in fridge over there. Jim's nothing but top notch.
Oh wow.
Yep. He ain't got anything in it, but it's running. Hey, Jim, how about some cold drinks? Well, I don't know. All right. This Union line starts unraveling from the angle all the way down to past where this group is forming. About where the copse of trees are. Enjoy yourself. It's the only time you say the word copse. All right, so that's where the Union line starts unraveling. How far are you? All right. If we're the Union line, if we're the 69th Pennsylvania, and we're right here, when the Confederates break through, the 69th, instead of breaking, is actually going to bend back, face them, right here. So they're going to be at right angles to each other. One facing forward in front of the copse, facing west, and then one facing to the north, which is represented by her. Well, here come the Confederates. They've got a gap in the line. The only problem for the Confederates, thank you, the only problem for the Confederates is that they've run out of momentum. And this stone wall is the last, well, I should say the first big piece of protection they've had since crossing the Gettysburg Road. So self-preservation, people. Now going back to what I told you on the other side of the road back there, when you have those 2 brigade fronts and you get Armistead that is blocked by the 2 brigades in front, then that occurs right here where we're standing. Armistead's brigade started about 300 to 400 yards, basically where we stepped off today, and when they came up and crossed Gettysburg Road, there was nowhere for them to go. They couldn't slide left, they couldn't slide right. So like a gigantic pileup, the front ranks, Garnett and Kemper were already up here at the Union line, and Armistead just comes up and plows into the back of them. Like a free pileup on a freeway. And those pretty ranks, he had about 2,200 men in that one brigade, good fighting men, but they've lost unit cohesion. Now in Napoleonic tactics, they can't do anything, because you can't order anything. Who are you going to order? You've got 5 different units sitting there, you know, it's discombobulated. Everything is confusion. Now, Garnett is down, as I said. By this time, Kemper has been shot near the stone wall. Over there, where that group that was behind us is now enjoying this lovely sunshine. Right over there. He's shot on the Confederate side of the wall, and he's almost pulled into Union lines. He's that close. Where the movie, you have to be watching it real close, but the movie actually depicts that scene. It's only like 2 seconds on it, but you can see them trying to pull in Kemper and them stealing him back to the line, basically. Well, that really happened. So anyway, 3 brigade commanders, 2 of them are down. That leaves Armistead. That gentle old urbane, what does that mean? That urbane soul, as he was called. Armistead across the field with the hat on the tip of his sword. 2,200 men, when you're in double ranks and you're coming forward, 2,200 men can't see from line to line. So you step out front, you hold that hat up. The hat will be seen in the advance. As long as you can see the hat, you know that your general is leading you forward. And by God, if he can be out front and he can go, then you can go. He is not asking you anything that he would not do himself. And so Armistead comes up. Colonel Raleigh Martin's over here from the 53rd Virginia. And Armistead says to him, by this time he can see Ohioans closing in. He can see New Yorkers closing in over here. Often toward the south, behind that group over there, he can see Vermont men coming up. He can see hundreds of Union troops rushing to the copse of trees and slowly building up the resistance right through here. Massachusetts men, Michigan men, Minnesota, everybody is around the copse. Pennsylvania, they're all right here. Did I tick off everybody's state here on the tour? I don't want to leave anybody out from shooting my people while we're at it, okay? So they're all gathered up here around the copse of trees. Nobody thought that was funny either. Maybe not the time of the year to do that one. But they're piling up right here, and Armistead sees this. He says, we can't stay here. Raleigh Martin yells at him, we'll go forward then. And Armistead picks himself up off the ground. That sword had punched through a hole through his hat, and it was at the hilt of his sword. He pulled the hat up and put it back on the point along the blade. His blade was not curved like that famous painting that I portrayed many times as a child in Houston, Mississippi, as I crossed the railroad track for everlasting glory in defense of Houston, Mississippi. It's actually a straight sword, if you want to picture it. It's a field officer's saber. It comes out there and he holds it aloft and he yells to his men, give them the cold steel, boys, who will follow me? And over the wall he goes, charging into the midst right here. He tells his men to watch those orange cones around the guns right there. Those safety cones in the midst of the battlefield right there. But as he charges forward across this field, he gets to that spot where you see the yellow rope. And he gets to that spot and he reaches out. Apparently some of Cushing's guns were in that area. Remember, these are only markers, people. This is not the exact spot the wheel rested on as far as Cushing's battery, okay? So give me a few feet here, right? And they would never have the guns that close together. Come on, people. So this is memorial what we got right here. But apparently there was a gun and Armistead reaches out for it, but he misses. because suddenly he bowls over, he turns 180 degrees, and he falls on the ground. My first year here at Gettysburg, we had a seasonal that would come out and he would actually portray the wounding scene to the ovation of the crowd until somebody found out, and then he couldn't do it anymore. So we don't do that anymore. The Armistead goes down on the ground and the men rush past him. And where you see the cars, or see that lift, I should say, back there, Union infantry are going to rise up, and they're loaded. They're all loaded. And it's like standing in a batter's box with a guy throwing 95 miles an hour and 40,000 people looking at you, and you can't get out. This is going to hurt. Did you see that Orioles catcher the other day? Yeah. That hurt. Right there. Well, where are the Confederates going to go when the Union levels their muskets and they get ready to fire? There's nowhere to go. Now, it's not 100% casualties, but it's enough to end the attack, whatever they hit. And so the Confederates go, retreating back to the stone wall. And now they're just bleeding. They can look back across where we came today, ladies and gentlemen, and they can clearly see that there are no reinforcements coming. That's strangely apparent. There was no second wave. We have debated that for the longest time. Richard Rawlins, who was wrote a book on Pickett's charge, he had an article in the Gettysburg magazine about the second wave in Pickett's charge. You can check that out. Forget which issue that is, right there. But there's no more troops coming. You're getting pinched, you're getting pushed, and there's nobody coming. What are your choices? Or
Retreat.
or run.
Retreat.
I like you. You fight to the death. I won't come home late on you, that's for sure. I done told you, fool. That rolling pin didn't work. Let's try hickory. You mind backing the car off of me? So, yeah, they faced two choices. Now, one Confederate thought that they lost more men getting out of here than they did getting in here, because they were defenseless. And he said that there was a mad rush basically up to the stone wall. And what happened, these Union troops get up here, they start shooting. Yeah, they shoot them. Yeah, they shot them in the back. Whatever. It's one of those things.
Charge was a fail.
In 45 minutes, Robert E. Lee loses 50%. 12,000 men, he loses 6,000 killed, wounded, and captured. About half of those are captured. I have to look up. A good percentage of those are wounded, captured. But it's about half right there. And the Union troops that are left here, ladies and gentlemen, the ones that have restored this position right here, are all chanting, Fredericksburg, Fredericksburg. If you pan right over here, one of the scenes I never talk about is there were stacks upon Union soldiers. Unlike where we're standing right here, see, you thought you were going to be in the rear. Where you're standing right here, there was only two ranks. Well, Alexander Hayes with his Union division over there, he stacked up every Union soldier he could, hub to hub and back to back. And so some places they were 4, 5, 6 deep. So deep they couldn't shoot from the back. So deep they were loading muskets and passing it to the front. So anyway, in the aftermath of Pickett's charge, you would have seen Hayes galloping in front in this very field right here, and he was dragging 2 or 3 Confederate battle flags behind his horse. And his men were cheering him on. And I guarantee you that one of those flags today that was ID to Pickett's charge would buy you more house than you would ever possibly need. But on July 3rd of 1863, he's dragging them up and down the ground. Right there. And the remnants, ladies and gentlemen, are headed back to Seminary Ridge. Now, Robert E. Lee rides out to greet his men. Longstreet rides out too. He doesn't get as much attention. But both of those men are active in trying to restore some kind of order. You and I know what happens after Pickett's charge, but Robert E. Lee does not know because it hasn't happened. And so Lee must keep in mind that George Meade could launch a counterattack. So across in reverse. And so Lee is vulnerable. So the first thing Lee does is have two of those brigades, Anderson's brigades, show themselves. They come out from the front line. You would have been able to see a couple thousand Confederate infantry along that tree line right there, showing to the Union, basically bluffing to come on, you know, even though most of those limbers are empty for the cannons. You know, they just shot up all their ammo and so forth. You know, it's a big game. But as we know, and he doesn't know, there is no intention of a swift counterattack. Hancock wanted it, but, you know, wanting and doing are two different things. Where are you going to get them from? It'd have to be swift. And you just won. You just beat Robert E. Lee. I mean, what do you want? You just won the Super Bowl. You want to play 5 quarters?
Yeah, right.
You know, what if you get repulsed? Then what? Uh-oh. You know, so anyway, that ends the Battle of Gettysburg. It's 51,000 casualties. It's roughly 28,000 Confederate, or roughly around 24 Union. We'll never have an exact count for it. But that's how it ends up after 3 days right here. It's carnage on a scale that you and I can never, I just can't imagine. My little hometown is about, you know, maybe 3,000. So you're talking
Mississippi.
30 miles below Tupelo, Chickasaw County. What was that ode to Billy? What was the artist's name?
Bobby Gentry.
Bobby Gentry, is that right, sir? If you get the album, whichever album that was, she writes songs about Chickasaw County. I think she was from Woodland, Mississippi. So if you're out there looking at this, I do have your album at the house. I just wanted you to know. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do we get from Gettysburg today, right? Well, first of all, this military part was created so future military groups could come here and learn from the past. That's why the observation towers are here. Now it's kind of metamorphosed into, you know, obviously a lot more civilians than there are military groups visiting here. But originally this was created by the War Department. Really want to get technical, the Gettysburg Battlefield Memorial Association. But beyond a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, these men wanted you to be able to come back here and see where they had fought over. And beyond a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, some of these men could never come back here. Even if they won, they could never come back here. The famous picture of the two old men, one gray-haired Confederate veteran and one gray-haired Union veteran shaking hands across this wall right here. That's a cool picture. You know, whatever year that's from, I'd have to look that up. You know, it looks like they're in earnest conversation. But there's a lot more men, someone like Eppa Hunton, I believe he commanded the 8th Virginia here, and he said when Gettysburg, he was one of the highest ranking officers from Pickett's division to survive the attack. They invited him to come back. And Eppa said, you know, I've been invited many times to come back to the battlefield, but I could never go out and cross this field again without looking over and saying, here's where I lost so-and-so, and here's where I lost so-and-so. Some of them among the best friends that I ever had. That's why they wanted to create it, to make sure that their sacrifices were remembered. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Don't step on my blue suede shoe.
Where's the bus to bring us back?
The bus to bring you back will be by. The bus came by and I got on. That's when it all began. That's Cowboy Neil at the wheel on the bus to never ever land. No? Right here. Is anybody in bad shape?
I want to hit the 10.
Okay? Anybody not make it? Alright. Well, never say we didn't ask before you get back. If I don't see you again, we'll find you this fall when we cut the field.
That's a good point.
Watch out for the gopher holes.
Yes, we will find you eventually. That's right. No problem. Yeah, thank y'all. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, y'all be careful going back. There's no speed records needed.